So we're talking recruit, train, and retain. These are for my team leaders, for those of you leading brokerages or leading teams and/or leading teams. We've got some great conversations that are going to take place today. And it's a special one because we've got the great Kathy Schweitzer, who actually, for those of you that don't know, although I would imagine a lot of you are familiar, she was the one that hired me to run a brokerage for her back when I was 20 years old. So, by the way, for my first timers, my name is Jeff Glover from Detroit, Michigan. I've been listing and selling real estate now for 22 years. 20 of those have been spent in leadership, starting with this lady right here who hired me to run one of her locations back 20 years ago now. And so anyways, we're talking today about recruit, train, retain, and we're not sharing things from 20 years ago. We're sharing things from right now because just to give you an idea, we operate a sales team of 38 salespeople that does between 900 and 1,000 transactions a year. We also operate brokerages of just over 650 salespeople that do over $1 billion in sales. So I think we're qualified to talk about what we're going to share with you today, as well as the wisdom that Kathy has shared with me through the years, and the wisdom that I'm going to be sharing with you. So first things first, I want to make sure you all have the workbook. They just dropped that in the chat. Make sure you get your hands on that. There's a bunch of free resources in there for you to use yourself personally or with your salespeople, so take advantage of that. And I want to see where everyone's joining us from today. So do me a favor in the chat, and before you type, all right, change it from panelists to everyone because it defaults to panelists and hosts. Change it to everyone so everyone can see where you're joining us from. I want to see where everyone's joining us from today. Give us the city, state, province. All right, Vegas is in the house. Columbia, South Carolina, welcome. Seattle, thanks for waking up early with us. Kalamazoo, love it. Great to see Texas, quite a few Texas. I see some Florida. Canada, thank you for joining us. Canada, Florida, all right. Arizona, we were just there a few weeks ago. We loved it. South Bend, Indiana, awesome. Just down the way in Trenton. There we go. New Jersey, love it. Awesome, awesome. Good to see everyone joining us. Yeah, we got some Boston in there too. Quebec, all right. Ohio in the house. Thank you guys all for joining us. While you're commenting, most of them are going to hosts and panelists though. So if you want everyone to see where you're from, change it to everyone. So you got that little blue drop-down box. Change that to everyone so everyone can see you commenting today, because there'll be a few things we might ask for some participation on. Okay, so real quick, I want to make sure you guys got a handful of free resources to use with your real estate agents. These are what we're told are the most popular, especially for leaders to use with their agents. First things first, it's the daily message. I think most of you guys probably received the daily message by now, but if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to share with you how to gain access to it for free. So every day, every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, every Friday, I'm writing a message specifically designed to help your agents list and sell more real estate. Sometimes it's, hey, I went on an appointment last night. Here's an objection that they gave me. Here's how I handled it. Other times, like for instance, this morning I talked about
I'll close the door.
Go ahead. Oh, Kathy. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, Kathy. Other times I'm sharing things like, for instance, this morning I talked about on today's message how to build a brand as a listing agent using social media. And I gave them I gave your agent specific tactics of things to post on social media to build a brand as a listing agent. Anyways, every single day I'm writing a message to help your agents list and sell more homes. We have brokers, owners, and team leads that take these daily messages and they end up compiling them and using them in their sales meetings for training content. I don't care what you do with them. You can do what you want with them. It's free. Take advantage of it. Here's how you sign up. Take out your cell phones and open up your text messages. And by the way, if you already subscribe to the daily message, you should be writing this down, because we have some of the most successful teams and brokerages across the country that use the daily message as part of their onboarding. Like it's step 9 in their onboarding. Make sure you get your hands on the daily message. So how you do that is you're going to text the word. So first of all, the phone number is 55444. I'll do it with you. And you're going to text the word morning. So if you're already signed up, but you want to share it with your agents, that's how you share it with them. Text the word morning to 55444. Now watch. This works in the U.S. If you're not in the U.S., just email us, info@gloveru.com. So I know we have some people joining us from outside the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., just email us, info@gloveru.com, and put in the body of the email your phone number and that you want to be signed up for the daily message. All right. We get those and we'll get you signed up manually. But for everyone else, just text the word morning to 55444, and that's how you get signed up personally. You can also use that with your onboarding, share that with your agents. I promise you, I will always make sure they're getting good content that they can use, that's actionable content that either inspires them or causes them to take action that day. That's the first free resource I want to share with you. The second resource that I want to share with you is the Glover U app. We have team owners and brokerage owners around the country right now utilizing our app on a regular basis because of all the free resources in the app. So if you do the text morning to 55444, it's going to send you a link back after you put your phone number, or I'm sorry, after you give your first name, your last name, and your email. By the way, that daily message goes out via email. So you can literally copy and paste that stuff and use it in your sales training. Anyways, if you did the daily message, it's going to spit out a link to the app. Take advantage of that. If you already get the daily message, but you don't have access to the app, it's super simple. Just go to the App Store. You're going to search Glover, space the letter U in the App Store. The spelling's right behind me here. Search that in the App Store, and you'll get your free access to the Glover U app. Almost quarterly, we're dropping a new tool for you to use with your salespeople in there. Sometimes 2 or 3 times a quarter, we're dropping new resources in there. There's all sorts of new stuff. If you haven't checked it out in a while, I encourage you to do so. That's the second resource I want to share with you. That's the Glover U app. And then the third resource I want to make sure you have your hands on is our 2025 business plan. This is the same business plan that I'm using in my business. It's the same business plan that all of our agents are using. It's the same business plan that our clients are using. And it's free to get your hands on it. In fact, I'm going to give you a 90-minute instructional video, and I'm also going to give you a PDF of the plan. So just go ahead and write this down, gloveru.com/plan. gloveru.com/plan. That'll take you right to the 2025 business plan. You'll have access to the recording. You'll have access to the PDF. You'll be able to download that, print that, do whatever with it. We have brokerages and teams around the U.S. and Canada using that with their team members or with their agents. So take advantage of that free resource. Okay. I wanted to make sure you guys had those. Those are the ones that I believe you should be using at a high level with your team or brokerage, and take advantage. We probably give away more today for free than we've ever charged for. So when we do that, make sure you're taking advantage of that. So today's topic, recruit, train, retain, with Kathy and I, is we selected this topic for a couple reasons. Number one, it's that time of the year where although agents are excited about their new year, we also know it's the time of the year where agents are a little lower on income. And so when agents are a little lower on income, 2 things happen. Number one, you have a recruiting opportunity because good, bad, right, or wrong, no matter how you slice it, you've got a lot of vulnerable agents out there, meaning agents that are honestly looking for options. They're looking for alternatives. They're looking for an answer. They're looking for someone to lend a hand to them. So you have a lot of recruiting opportunities always in the first quarter of the year because it tends to be, if you think about your closings, typically January, February, or March are the lowest 3 closing months in most part of the U.S. and Canada. So therefore, you have a lot of agents that are vulnerable agents, which means you have some great recruiting opportunities. Now, on the other side of that is you got to wrap your arms around your current agents, because if there's a lot of agents out there that are vulnerable because their income is down in the first quarter, well, then that means you probably have a handful yourself who are vulnerable and are also at risk of being recruited away to a competitor. So this conversation could not have come at a better time, and I'm so glad you joined us. I'm going to hand it over to Kathy. She's going to tell you a little bit about herself and her background. You already heard how her and I met. She was she took a chance on me at 20 years old to run a brokerage for her. She had the largest Coldwell Banker in the Midwest, 16, 17 offices, and ran a great ship. That's how we got into relationship together. But she's also the CEO of Glover U today. So it's amazing how life is full circle. So Kathy, I know you've accomplished much more than that, and you've been doing a lot more than that in your background. Why don't you share everyone your background?
Yeah, so I would love to do that. Like Jeff said, we had a large brokerage, the #1 Coldwell Banker brokerage in Southeast Michigan. I oversaw all the managers there, 18 managers, and we recruited, we had like 600-700 agents to help us grow to the #1. So Jeff was one of those people that I had the pleasure to teach him how to recruit, right? And what he did to do it. And now I have the honor of actually working with Glover Agency and Taylor, the CEO, and Jeff with recruiting and what's going on there, as well as the retention, as well as the training. So I've also been and in the field, just like all of you that are actually recruiting. So My claim to fame is actually recruiting 90% of everyone I recruited, which is hundreds of people, is experienced agents. So that was my specialty. That's something that I didn't realize when I was doing it, Jeff, that I would really love the attracting and the recruiting as much as I have. But we ended up growing the team out in Boston. I worked there for about 10 years to the #1 independent in Essex County. And it's still an amazing company and still strong. And then I have the honor, like I said, to coach Taylor, who is actively recruiting and recruiting experienced people and doing a great job with retention. So the 3 areas, right, we need to really understand as leaders is the recruiting or attracting, retention, right? The retention part of it. And also, obviously, training and developing the people that we bring on. I'm excited to be here today. Are you ready to dive into the content, Mr. Jeff?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's give them what they're here for.
Okay, good. All right, so everyone open to a clean sheet of paper. Open to a clean sheet of paper in your book. I want you to write down to build a brokerage or a team the profitable way. You must live by these 3 rules. Now, there are more than these 3 rules, but these are the 3 that we talk about all the time. And we talk about it daily in our current world. Jeff and I talk about it all the time. And so does the leadership team with our current brokerages and our current teams. So #1, please write down, recruiting solves all production problems you have. Recruiting solves all. One of the things we know for sure is that that is also a skill of attracting people. So when we say recruiting, we're also talking about attracting people to your brokerage, attracting people to your teams. Okay. So recruiting and attracting are one. Remember, it solves all. Now, people want to debate us. Jeff, you and I have been down this road before.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to pull back on recruiting and attracting right now because I'm spending so much time in retention, which is super important, and training. But remember, always remember this rule: recruit solves all.
That's right.
Okay, #2, please write down. To build a brokerage or company, write down #2, that's profitable. We must focus on increasing the per person production of the agents that we lead. We must work on increasing the per person production of the agents that we lead. What I mean by that is put next to that, focus on sales-based training and coaching, right? That is what agents are starving for. They're starving for someone that's actually going to look at their production and help them grow it. I know it's a no-brainer, but you have to understand how important that is. Sales-based training and focusing on PPP. And #3.
No, it's not a no-brainer because Kathy, there's a lot of people that get into business today,
That's
and
true.
a lot of our leaders know where I'm going with this, that honestly believe they can build a big business just because they understand social media and video. Or they honestly believe they can build a big business because they've mastered Chat GPT and AI. And while those tools are important, in fact, even at Glover U, we teach social media and video at a high level. But nothing is more important than becoming a great salesperson. We were even having a coaching call with our coaches this morning, and we were talking about one of the foundations of being a great salesperson is knowing your numbers. And one of the things that was said, finally somebody raised their hand, and Kathy, you obviously were on the call, and that was, you guys, you don't understand. The majority of agents in the US and Canada do not work in environments that Jeff has created. And so we have to help agents understand the value of understanding what it means to be a great salesperson or what it means to track numbers. So I know you say it sounds basic, but no, I actually believe there's a lot of teams and brokerages out there that are not treating sales skills as the first thing that they teach their agents. They're teaching them open houses, or they're teaching them how to do paperwork, or how to operate their CRM, or how to host a great open house before they teach them how to sell. And that's we do it the other way around. It's sales training first, everything else second.
Absolutely, which is why that's rule #2, right? #1, recruit solves all. #2, sales-based training, increase your per person production. And please write down rules to live by. Over communicate your value proposition. Rules to live by. Over communicate your value proposition. Text, email, video. We have to catch our agents understanding what the value is. of what we're offering them. So you have to over communicate that. So I just wanted you to write down 3 things, 3 fundamentals, 3 rules. Okay. Now we're going to get
So
into,
when
yeah,
you
go
say
ahead.
over communicate the value proposition, one thing
Yeah,
that comes to mind, Kathy, is this includes, like, during your sales meeting, interviewing an agent who's winning with your database plan, interview an agent who's winning with, working expires and for sale by owners that you provide the leads for, interviewing agents that are winning with online leads, actually having agents that are winning with your value proposition, standing up in front of your people and saying what they're doing. That's one of the best ways you can over communicate that, because that's communicating what you're doing in your value proposition paired with a testimonial.
right on. So in the team and broker building class, we dive deep into your value proposition. And for those that have it, you have to reinvent it. Some of the stuff you have to reinvent. So it is a ongoing conversation. You'll hear how your value proposition comes up through recruiting, through retention, and training. So I want you to write down next few points, lessons that we've learned on recruiting, right? So Jeff, myself, our CEO of Glover Agency, Taylor, we sit down and say, okay, in today's world and things that we're doing, what are we learning? So please write down lessons with recruiting. You cannot hire anyone with a pulse if you want a great culture. Please write down, you cannot hire anyone with a pulse if you want a great culture. These are lessons that we've learned. The
Yeah.
quantity pushes out the quality.
And I get it. You listen, I'm a big believer in, you know, people deserve a first chance. And at the same time, especially as a leader, I've been guilty of this. You want to see something in them. So you look past things that might be bad for your environment or bad for culture, and you hire them in and you bring them in anyways. The challenge is that pushes out your talent. And that's the game that you got to play, Kathy. I know we talk a lot about recruiting solve all, and it does. And at the same time, you have to be quick to remove people that don't fit your culture. Otherwise, the people that do won't stick around.
100%. And that's something that's super important. Again, we're talking about recruiting, right? And the things that we've learned. So we're trying to help you get what we've learned to help you.
Yeah.
So you cannot hire anyone with a pulse. Number 2, producers care about what they become when they affiliate with you.
Mhm.
Producers care about
Yeah.
what they become when they affiliate with you. Focus on leverage in taking things off their plate. So, Jeff, you and I talk about this all the time. This has gone on forever. In today's world, what the agents are looking for is, what are you going to do to take things off my plate?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
We
That's
have to,
probably that's one of the biggest value propositions, especially for my teams. I understand it's a little harder for brokerages, especially if you're running a larger brokerage or with a franchise, because your model restricts you on how many employees you can have or whatever. But if you're operating a team, without question, that's the number. It used to be for years, Kathy, people want leads and they want to make a bunch of money. And don't get me wrong, those are things that are important. They're listed in there somewhere. But today's real estate agent, the number one thing a producing real estate agent wants, if they're going to join your team and they're no longer going to be a solo agent, is they want everything taken off their plate. That if you can do that for them, you with 1000% certainty will have at least the first step to a strong value proposition.
absolutely. And there are clients, Jeff, that the large brokerages that I coach that have figured out a model,
Hmm.
of things. And again, the agent can pay for them, but they
Hmm.
figured out a model where they can start taking things off their plate.
Yeah,
And again, they have to pay for it, but it's super
sure.
important. It goes back to keeping their mind and their activities engaged in sales. Okay.
That's right. Yeah,
Number
that
3,
helps with and that
lessons.
helps with the
Yeah,
per person productivity.
totally.
So actually that
Lesson.
value proposition keeps them producing more, which raises your per person productivity.
Absolutely. That's an excellent point. Okay, number 3, lessons on recruiting. Celebrate everyone's success. And what we mean by that is bring up the success of your current agents in every interview that you have,
Mhm.
right? So we have to keep celebrating everyone's success, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that we do really well is ask agents why they join and why they stay. And
Mhm.
then you have to celebrate it. And again, there are conversations about that and steps about how you celebrate it, but also when you do it and how you use it to recruit other people.
That's right.
So again, these are things that we've learned through recruiting. Number 4, never limit the ideas of the people that you're leading. Never limit the ideas. So lessons we've learned when you're recruiting people and bringing them on, we want to make sure that we are listening, and this is also retention. We are listening to the people that we're recruiting, and we also make sure that we are constantly reminding them about their ideas are important to us.
Mhm.
Okay. And again, this is when you recruit, it is such a one-on-one thing. And we have to make sure that we never limit their ideas. So that's number
Yeah.
4, lessons on recruiting, but that's also retention too.
Yeah, it is. It is retention because then, not only do people feel heard, but they know that you're going to take their recommendations seriously. You might not implement every suggestion that they have, but as long as you're implementing a handful of them, they know that they're being heard, which is going to help you with retention. And usually the producers who are making suggestions of what should be implemented are giving you suggestions of things that will help you attract other producers.
Right on.
So
100%.
how you go about doing that is you have to, or that you can either do that during would you recommend we do that during one-on-ones? Would you recommend you do that in an open forum, or maybe you create like a team of agent leaders? However you got to do it, it should be kind of a structured thing, not just a in passing from time to time you ask them.
No. So in the team and broker building class, right, we get into exactly how you celebrate their success. And again, that might sound funny, but again, it's how you put it out to the world, the public, all the agents out there, and how you do it internally, and how everyone can feel that culture of success. Super important. The last lesson that we learned on recruiting that we continue to learn is when you bring people in, whether it's experienced productive agents or not, our job is to help them get a deal as soon as possible, right? So
Yep.
we've got to get them a deal. The sooner they can get a deal, right? The longer they're going to be like, wow, I was at my previous company for 6 months and I only did 2 deals. At this company, I did one in, 15 or 30 days. So these are kind
Yeah.
of lessons with recruiting.
It's very important, and I get it. You might feel like, the other agents may look around and say, well, they're kind of favoring this new guy or this new gal. But, first of all, we don't play favorites. We believe in do for one, do for all. And when someone first starts with you, you almost should have a separate list of agents, especially if you're in a bigger brokerage. You should have a separate list of agents that were brought in the last 60 days or the last 30 days, because those are the agents that you have to wrap your arms around and do everything you can to help them get a deal, because they're also going back to that vulnerable thing. They're also they're still very vulnerable in that early 30, 60 days. They're questioning, did I make the right decision? They don't like that. Well, at my old company, they used to do A, B, and C. Even though the new company does D, E, and F, they're still kind of hanging on to what they were used to. So that first 30, 60 days is make or break. And if you're in a high recruiting environment where you're running a larger company, every leader should carry a list of the agents that joined in the last 30 days and make sure you're not just loving on those agents, but you're doing everything you can to help them get a deal or at least something under contract in the first 30 days, even if you have to throw them a bone every now and again, just to get them over that hump of questioning their decision. Trust me, that's one of the fastest ways to get them to stop questioning their decision, because you're human. People are human. Things happen. People make mistakes. Your admin team doesn't put in the listing the same way that they were used to, right? These little things add up and they cause them to question their decision. The fastest way to get them over questioning their decision is to get them a deal. So whatever you got to do to help them do that, that should be the focus with your first 30, 60 days with them.
Absolutely 100%. So in the retention part, we call it, it's MMFI, make me feel important, which is a component of it. But again, it's a feeling, but now you have to take action on getting them the first deal. I love, Jeff, love it so much that you said, have the names of the people that you just hired. So the larger brokerages, we used to do it and we still do it all the time. You got to write it down. You got to connect with them. So again, the onboarding process is something that we spend a lot of time on, getting deep into that and making sure that everyone that
It kind of reminds me,
about
Kathy, of the clipboard method, which is something I
Yeah,
learned from a gentleman by the name of Tom Kotzian, who was somebody who was also a managing broker for you. And that is, you have a clipboard. I'll just share it real quick since we're on the
I love
topic.
it. I
You have a
love it. I love it.
clipboard of every single name of every single person in your company. And what Tom taught me, he's no longer with us. He was a longtime mentor of mine, and also he worked for Kathy as well. He said, Jeff, what I do is I go through the clipboard and I make sure I touch every single agent once a week. And when I do, now he said sometimes it's a text message, sometimes it's an email, sometimes it's just in passing in the hall. But when I touch every single agent once per week, I
Mhm.
put a check next to their name. And by the end of the week, he said by Friday at 5, if I have not checked off every person's name at least once, he said, it's a penalty to myself. This is something he taught me early on. He said, it's a penalty to myself. I actually work 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday morning to get the rest. He said, so for me, I'm spending the entire week doing everything I can to make sure I touch the agents at least once. Otherwise, I got to put 2, 3 hours in on a Saturday morning to catch the people, either a text message or a phone call or an email that I didn't see during the week. That's the clipboard method.
Yep, the clipboard method still works today, right?
It sure
Because,
does.
yep, it's super important. I love that. That's gold right there. It's gold, and it will never go away, right? You just
No.
might not use a clipboard, but that'll never go away, right?
Right.
I love that. All right, so now I wanted to share with you, 5 of the lessons with recruiting again, but now I'm going to share with you in the recruiting and attracting, right, the hottest methods today. So we don't have time to get into all of them, but I want to share with the group the hottest methods of recruiting right now. Is that good with you, Jeff?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So here's the thing. We know what we're talking about right now is what is working today in today's world. So please write down hottest recruiting methods right now. Now, again, in the class that we teach, the team and broker building, I know I keep bringing that up, but I can't help myself. We have the 25 ways to recruit. And then we break it down to the top 10. I can't get to all of that today, but what we'll do is share with you the hottest ones. So number 1, social media. Social media and value proposition videos. So we know in today's world that we have to do video, which Jeff we talk about it all the time. We have to do video. You got to push out your value proposition, everyone on this call, in video to the agents in your marketplace. This is how you attract agents. This is how you attract agents. Now, remember, I get all the time, Kathy, do I have to pick up the phone and call anymore if I'm going to recruit and attract? I'm going to say yes, you do. And we'll share more about that at another day. But this is how you attract people. You got to catch your agents in your office using your value prop and then get it out. Okay. So that's a huge thing. So number 1 is you got to get social media, get your value proposition out to the people, the real
Yeah.
estate agents. Super important. So what we say is determine like 5 or 6 of your best value proposition pieces and just start getting them out. Any comment on that, Jeff?
Yeah, just think about creating images, doing video. Just when you outline your top 5 value propositions, then you look at, okay, how can I get the word out about these? And
Yep.
so, I know for a fact Taylor was just in this studio yesterday, just in the next little
Yep.
spot over, recording recruiting videos. And in those recruiting videos, what she was doing is she was talking about different value propositions that we offer as a team. And so therefore, those are going to run ads. Now what I'd say, not to get super technical with this, but I will give you one other tip to add to this, Kathy, and that is make sure you give something away. Like they can click to download the PDF of your database value proposition. They can click to download the PDF of your showing agent model. They can click to download the PDF of your listing routine, what your agents do to take listings. If they can download something, you're going to get more clicks and you're going to get more contact information because they have to put in their information to get your free PDF. So make sure you're attaching something that of value to those recruiting videos.
Absolutely. So that's super important. And again, we will show you the videos, right? Exactly what we're doing, exactly what's working, exactly what we're doing to get 50, 60 experienced agents
Yeah.
onto the team per year, right? So that's something that, again, it takes us, it's not, it's just something that everybody in today's world has to learn video. If I can do it, you all can do it.
That's
So
right.
we
Yeah,
spend a
you're
deep
kicking
dive
butt.
into.
You're kicking butt with your social media video.
Okay, well, I'm having a good time with this part of it. Okay, let's write down number 2, hottest methods. We need to make sure that we are doing quarterly masterminds, right? Or quarterly events, right? You've got to get out there and be working with the community, meaning the agent community.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do an educational event. You can also do masterminds where you get a bunch of agents together and you
Yeah.
mastermind. These are working tremendously.
Yeah.
Why? Because most agents out there aren't getting anybody helping and teaching them. So that's a
Yeah.
second thing that's super important when it comes to recruiting methods working now.
It's also good for your co-op relationships too, because you're going to see a lot
Yeah,
of agents that show your listings or that have listings that you show, and it just creates a good collaboration. You're not going to do any active recruiting in the mastermind.
no,
Kathy's bringing this up because this is something we do for Glover Agency quarterly. We'll host these around different areas of town. We just did one here in Birmingham not too long ago. We're bringing producing. You got to be a producing agent to come, and we have a topic and an agenda that we follow. And of course, I know Kathy, you share the entire model in your team building course. But
yep.
basically, you're building relationships with these agents, and you're having a fun time doing it. It's good for co-op relationships. And at the end, or on the next day, or later that evening, you're going to get an email or a text message or a phone call, like we do after almost every single one, that says, I know we didn't really cover what it would look like to work with you or to join your firm or to join your team, but can you tell me a little bit more about that? We're not recruiting. It's unsolicited. They're reaching out to us because we provided the value first. And that's the mastermind model. I recommend you do that. We've got a lot of clients that do it, that we coach.
Absolutely. Super important. Such a great idea. Please write that down. Next point I want you to write down, to Jeff's point earlier, is email blasts. Email blasts. Number 3, you've got to get out there and do email blasts when it comes. These are the hottest methods of recruiting, right? And again, just like Jeff said with social media and advertising, you've got to put something of value with the email so they click on it.
Yes.
So put email blasts equals provide something of value.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to do that. So one of the things that we do a great job is we have a quarterly database plan, and we get that out proactively to all the recruits in the area. So they go and they download it, and then we get their name, their number, and then we call them, right? So again, email blasts are super hot right now. I'm highly going to suggest that. Make sure you provide items of value. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, which again is something that works, is Jeff always says the number one way to recruit is picking up the phone. It still is the number one way to recruit, even though, like I said, we have 25 methods. We'll cover the 10 hottest methods in our class coming up, the Team and Broker Building. But I want you to write down, pick up the phone 3 times a week minimum. Now, Jeff, I know we say own the morning, win the day, and I agree with that. I also know if you are a disciplined person, and you have to discover this yourself, you need to be calling or following up with those leads from 4 to 5:30 in the afternoon for experienced people. Why? Because we're out there doing it, and we've found that most agents answer their phone at that time.
The answer rate is much higher after 4 p.m.
It is. Now, here's the caveat. You have to be disciplined enough to do that, right? So you can't wait till 4 and then decide, oh, I'm just not going to do it because I'm too busy. But I will tell you, we have seen firms and continue to see firms that grow and grow and grow because they have just been routine in the picking up the phone. And the only other thing I'll say to that is, when you're recruiting, and then we'll move on to retention, it's time to move on, is you have to understand that you're only as good as your passion about your value proposition. You've got to own your mission, your vision, your value. Again, we take a deep dive into teaching you how to do that and how to discover what's so important with your company or brokerage or team that you're so excited to get out there and share it.
Yeah.
So just
I
a
love
thought.
that. And I would just add to that, your passion is number one, and it will show through on the appointment, on the recruiting appointment. Number one. Number two, your value proposition is also only as good at the rate at which you get it out there. It's only as good at the rate at which you communicate and advertise it. You could have the best value proposition in the world. If nobody knows about it, you're not going to have anyone join you. So I think those kind of go hand in hand because, of course, getting the word out about your value proposition requires that passion that Kathy's talking about. But that really should be, it's one thing to have a strong value proposition. It's another thing to promote it.
Absolutely, 100%. So I have a great coaching client that has just done phenomenal with that. They doubled their recruiting numbers year over year. And a big piece of it is because of the fact that they have promoted the value proposition. So I have a question for you. How well do you know your value proposition? How well you might know it, but how are the agents that you lead, how well do they know your value proposition? And are they doing it daily? Are they embracing the things that you have? So it's such an important topic, Jeff, the mission, your vision, your value prop. And it's something that I think that a lot of people don't spend enough time on, or they skim over it. Any thoughts on that?
I think that, when I look at the value proposition, you do much more. Most people have a greater value proposition than they think, because you take for granted the things you do day in and day out. Your knowledge of certain things, what your routine is. You don't realize. I use this silly example of, okay, do you go to your office every single day, at least 4 days per week? Yeah, that's a value proposition. Not
Right,
all
right, right.
brokerages can say that. Not all
Yeah.
teams can say that they have an on-site leader 4 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week. So you really have to kind of reduce it down to some of the elementary things that you do without even thinking about it to start building the foundation of documenting your value proposition. Because you all have one. It's just a matter of, have you documented it? How presentable does it look? Is it on world-class marketing material? Is it something that somebody can hold and say, wow, this is really impressive? Your ability to communicate your value proposition, hear me loud and clear on this. Your ability to communicate your value proposition gives the agents the impression of your ability to help them become a better marketer. The better you are at marketing your value proposition, the more agents that are attracted to good marketing that want to become better marketers will join you because they see you as someone who has mastered marketing and they need someone to teach them that.
No doubt. So I just saw something in the chat, a class on that. Yes, in the team and broker building, we spend an enormous amount of time on your value proposition and how to organize it, what it is, and then how to utilize it to retain the people that you have and also obviously to attract people. It is such an important part. And, again, Jeff, we could spend 3 hours just on a value prop, but we don't have time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know you dive deep into that into your team building class, and we're here for recruiting and retention and so forth. So let's keep going.
Yep, let's keep going. Okay, retention, right? So I want to move on to retention. Let's write down some ideas about retention. Please write down, as I said earlier, MMFI, make me feel important. Make me feel important. The number one reason why people leave is because of that. It's not about the money. Don't get me wrong. The money is important and what they're earning with you or what they're not earning with you. But I know for a fact, whether it's the 35 years I've been in this business or today, the top producers, as well as the mid producers, and everybody just want to understand that you, excuse me for being direct, give a crap about them.
Yeah.
And it's why they're going to stay or it's why they're going to go. So with retention, you got to understand that that's super important. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, retention ideas. Okay. Make the agent the brand. Make the agent the brand and help them with their brand. Now, remember, guys, this is ideas. At Glover Agency, we went out and we asked our agents, what could we do a better job of? And one of them said, can you just help us with our branding? Now, you may not do it, but it's an idea that really helped with retention. And it's one that makes them feel, that the leaders, that Taylor, Jeff, myself really care about them. So we listened and we implemented. Any comment on that, Jeff?
Well, I would just say that's really, I think for our brokerages out there, that's pretty simple. I think most of the brokerages today understand that the agent is the brand.
Yep.
But our teams really haven't grasped that yet. I still see a lot of teams operating around, the leader is the brand, the team name is the brand, everything's about the team and the team name. And my response to that is if you don't make it about them, eventually they will leave you for someone who's willing to make it about them. And
Yep,
so, yeah, you might have an agent for 2 or 3 years, but then they're going to look up and say, wait a minute, I'm doing all this work to build his brand, or I'm doing all this work to build her brand. I want to build my own brand. And so we know that's one of the reasons why agents leave teams. And so therefore, we're kind of like the opposite. We don't just say, oh yeah, we let you build your brand. We say, come join us. We're actually going to teach you how to build a brand, no different than how Jeff has built a brand, or no different than how Sean has built a brand. Or, we use different examples of our agents who are building brands within our company. And so it's one thing to say that you allow your agents to build a brand. That's not a value proposition. That's just like a policy. But
yeah,
coming out and saying that we're going to teach you how to build a brand, or one step further, we're going to create the brand for you. We're going to create, I mean, and we do that, Kathy. For our producers, we
I
create
do.
logos for them. I mean, we actually create the brand for them. Now it's a value proposition. So I want for those that are watching, regardless of where your stance is on this, because some people still say, no, my company's the brand or the team is the brand. Just know at some point in time, they will leave you for someone who's going to help them brand.
I don't need to say any more on that, but that's super important. It's just critical to understand. It goes back to the MMFI. Okay, let's write down number 3. Retention ideas, everybody. Help them become a local celebrity, right? I love this. I love this. And we do this through the hybrid farming, right? So you work with the agents. I think it's just something that everyone should be doing. It's something that any leader, any size company can do. Help them, the agents, become a local celebrity. That's through our hybrid farming, right? So we work diligently with our agents to help them become a celebrity. Host or sponsor community events. Consider helping create a neighborhood Facebook group. Coach them how to partner and promote. So guys and gals out there, hybrid farming. Help your
Yeah.
agents learn how to farm better, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's another class for another thing, but that's
Yeah, I was
something
going to say,
we
there's
talk
probably
about.
people wondering what's hybrid farming.
Yeah, fair enough.
We teach that in our webinars and on YouTube and a podcast. Obviously, get to our events, you'll learn all about hybrid farming. But what I heard in that, because we don't have time to get into what hybrid farming is,
Nope.
what I heard in that is you're taking it off their plate, and therefore they're more likely to actually execute on it. You're taking a lot of pieces off of their plate, so that way it's actually likely to happen. So, and even for those of you that are running brokerages where maybe you don't have the ability or the staff or the revenue to maybe offer that service to them, at least add it to your calendar as, all right, the 15th of every month is hybrid farming day. Create a culture at least that reminds them to do it, and get them the content on how to do it. Obviously, you can borrow our content. It's out there. You'll be able to find stuff on it.
Yeah, and when we get into team and broker billing with training and deep diving it, we teach you how to do that. Okay, so next point I want you to write down: have an accountability and recognition system that your agents crave. Have an accountability and recognition system that your agents crave. So we have to do our one-on-one coaching and business building twice a month. Twice a month. You need to meet with your agents twice a month. Now, for the larger brokerages, that's a little bit more difficult. Your managers need to be doing this. Okay. So you've got to create a culture of coaching and a culture of one-on-one coaching in your brokerages and in your teams. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to just throw out there is understanding that you have to have an accountability and recognition program in all your brokerages, in all your teams. It's just like, Jeff, you guys do the top producer trip. And again, it may sound like, fundamental to some people, but we have to have an accountability and recognition for everybody that works for us. And
Yeah,
that's just super important.
it's not just monthly at your sales meetings. It's daily. I mean, I just look at our listings and sales boards. And I've been encouraging brokerages and teams to have listings and sales boards. I look at our 725 call. That's daily accountability. I look at our the one-on-ones. When we're reviewing their business plans during their one-on-ones. It's not just a classic standard, top agent of the year award or top agent of the month award. It's recognition and accountability is daily in our environment.
Absolutely. So you have to have consistent, please write down, consistent ongoing training, consistent ongoing coaching and training. So we said, coach your agents at least twice a month. The training has to be ongoing and always. So at Glover Agency, we have training Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 10:30. Like Jeff said, they check in, the agents check in daily at 7:30. So I got to ask everyone, what is the training that you're offering where your agents actually crave coming to it?
Yeah.
Is it sales based?
Yeah. So
Are
our cadence,
20? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I would just say our cadence, Kathy. So it's Monday through Friday, 7:25 a.m. accountability call. We have 10 a.m. meetings 3 days a week, Mondays and Wednesdays, Friday, 10 to 10:30. That's all skills based. Like on today's, we talked about how to have a conversation with a buyer in an open house who, says they may be working with an agent, but they don't have a contract with an agent. How do you handle that? So you think of scenarios, think of real estate scenarios. We bring those to our 10 a.m.s. There's a sales meeting, a 3.5 hour sales meeting once monthly. And then there's the 2 one-on-ones. And in those one-on-ones, we're doing a deep dive into their business plan and reviewing the previous month and looking at their list, their plan of action, everything they said that they were going to do, and helping them execute on those things, or at least helping hold them accountable on those things.
Right. And that goes back to, again, that's what agents are craving. And everyone shows up, right? Because they're excited that actually someone's sitting down. And by the way, that's a great recruiting tool. So retention, right? Coaching, accountability, training.
Yeah,
The
getting the
last,
word out about your monthly cadence is a recruiting tool. Just
yeah,
getting the word out about that is a recruiting tool.
no, that's a really great point as well. The other thing that I want to say with retention, and I want you to write this point down, is we've got to help them, our agents, with their database plan. We've got to help our agents with their database plan. I don't care if you're the largest brokerage out there or the smallest. And this is something with a lot of my coaching clients that have larger companies. We are honing down on really helping our agents be consistent with reaching out to their past clients, their sphere of influence, and their database. And again, for some people, this is one of the biggest challenges that people have. So don't make it difficult. Create the system for your database and teach the agents how to do it and take some of that off their plate. And again, Jeff, these are retention ideas. So again, we can't discover it all. We can't show everything right now, but that is something that when we talk about retention in our organizations, it's something that we have to understand that is critical, and we have to really do work with our agents on doing it, but we have to help structure it and then make it easy for them to do that.
Yeah, because most of your agents think that their database value proposition is a drip campaign in their CRM. And
Right.
while that might be like a portion of it, that's like a tenth of it for us. It's what they're sending them. It's what they're saying to them. It's the script they're using when they make their calls. It's the events that they're hosting. Not only taking some of that stuff off their plate, but just training them on those things because they've never got that training. Somebody said, here's the CRM, here's the desk, here's the phone. Go ahead and upload your spreadsheet, set them up on drip campaigns, and that'll do the rest for you. That doesn't work anymore. 10 years ago, that was effective. Not today.
Right. And so the thing of it is that, again, what we talk about, again, when we get into the retention part in the class, we talk about what exactly is the database plan that we use. How do we implement it? What are the step-by-step things that we're doing so you as a leader can get your staff involved as well as the agents? So again, retention, make me feel important, train me, coach me, give me the tools and systems that I need. This is what we have to do as leaders, and this is how you run an organization that's profitable, that's productive, and you have agents that are loyal and that will stay with you. Okay? So, recruit. We gave you the tips on recruiting and lessons that we've learned. Retention and training. We gave you the things that are working when it comes to retention, when it comes to training. So the question that I have for everyone on here is, how do you up your game in making sure that you are providing the tools, the systems that allow the agents to thrive, that work for you? So recruit, train, retain. Those are three things that you have to own and understand. And by the way, for those of you that have been doing this a long time, when's the last time you really got into your value proposition, your mission, your vision, really did a deep dive into your training and say, okay, where could I upgrade it to make sure that it's sales based and I'm actually helping my agents increase their production, right? And then obviously when it comes to recruiting, there's no one better than you or the leadership to make sure that you're awesome with it. So those are the three things that we wanted to share about today. When we get into team and broker building, it goes down about 10 levels deeper with all of this.
Yes. So Kathy, there's probably some people on wondering, okay, and by the way, I know your coaching schedule is full. So it's not possible for anyone to coach with you right now. I know that the schedule is full. And the number one course that you pour all of your energy into is the team and brokerage building course. And so can you tell us a little bit about that, Kathy?
Yeah. So as you can see with when I talk about leading and I am very passionate about the class. So primarily the class is how to increase your per person production and grow it, right? Yeah. So the idea is with the team and brokerage building, we take a deep dive. I call it like the modern version, right? Of the foundation of a great brokerage or a team. So what we're looking at is the modernization of a great brokerage or a team to foster a positive, productive, and profitable culture. So we do, Jeff, a deep dive into our mission. What is your mission? What is your vision? What is your value proposition? What exactly is the exact process that I have to do to implement that within my organization? And again, Jeff, I have one-on-one coaching clients that are like, oh, a great client of mine has 200 people in his brokerage. He's like, I haven't looked at that in like 2 years. I don't think my agents even know what it is. So we take a deep dive into mission, vision, value prop. We take a step-by-step approach to attracting and recruiting agents, right? We spend a lot of time on what I need to do myself as a leader and my leadership team, and then everyone around me, how we attract and recruit productive agents. And we call it the modern day recruiting and attracting, as well as some of the traditionals. So that's just the first 3 or 4 or 5 sessions, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, and what's really cool about your program, at least, that I appreciate is you're taking things that we're doing to win right now. A lot of people, aren't familiar with this, but for instance, the Glover Agency just recruited over 1 million in GCI in 2024. And that was all experienced agents. So Kathy's going to share with you exactly what we did specifically to do that. As a real estate team, we just acquired a independent brokerage with, that was doing just fine. They were doing 250 units a year in a small location in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is a very profitable brokerage. How does a real estate team acquire an independent brokerage? These are all things that are covered in the team and brokerage building course. And what's so awesome about this is that, Kathy, because of your experience on the brokerage side, and of course our experience on the brokerage side, but my specific experience on the team side, you're blending what works great for teams and what works great for brokerages. And what we're seeing is a lot of brokerages are taking some of the stuff that works great for teams and implementing that into their model because it's helping them with their profits. Because, brokerage profits have gone down over the last decade, and therefore brokerages that operate more like teams are actually seeing an increase in their profits versus the traditional brokerages and the way they operate. So if you want to spend 16 weeks with Kathy, the same lady that coached me on how to become a leader, how to train, how to recruit, how to retain, this is your one opportunity to do so. It's 16 weeks. They're 1 hour live Zooms, 45 minutes of instruction and 10 or 15 minutes of Q&A. You get the recordings, you get all of our materials, everything that we're using for recruiting, everything that we're using for coaching, everything that we're using for retention. It is a mastery class on building a team or brokerage. If you want more information, just text the word BUILD to 55444. This doesn't sign you up for it. It just gets you the information on it. Text the word build, BUILD, to 55444. That same number that you texted earlier to get signed up for the daily message. That'll get you the cheat sheet on it, which will show you everything that includes. Kathy, when does the course start and what day and time is it?
Yes, thank you, Jeff. So the course starts next Tuesday and it runs Tuesdays at noon Eastern time.
Yeah.
Tuesdays, noon Eastern time. The cool thing is that it is recorded, even though a lot of the people that sign up like to be there live because you get more
Yeah.
out of it. But just so
More
you know,
interaction.
it's recorded.
Well,
What's
yeah,
that?
and I always recommend live because you get to ask questions of Kathy.
Totally.
Hey, Kathy, I implemented this last week to recruit agents, and this didn't quite work out the way that I thought it would. What's your advice to me? And you have an opportunity to ask Kathy. She has seen it all. She's still seeing it all because she's learning. Obviously, we're all learning as we go. So if you want to join Kathy for 16 weeks, I recommend you do so. Just text the word build. They can drop that in the chat as well. Text the word build to 55444. That will get you all the details that you need on that. And we still have several more webinars to go. We've got one Friday. We've got one Monday. I think we might even have one next Wednesday. So if you want to get your agents plugged into the rest of the webinars, or you want to catch the replay, I just had somebody message me about the listing mastery one we did this week from the replay. Go to gloveru.com/webinar to check those out. And Kathy, the last thing I want to mention, and I know it's in the workbook, and I think they should be able to throw it on the screen, and that is our lead up event that's coming up in Miami,
Yes.
Florida, March 31st, April 1st, and April 2nd. That is only for team owners. It's only for brokers. If they can get that thrown up on the screen so I can show you guys where that's going to be taking place. It's also in your workbook. Again, that's the annual lead-up event. It's only for team owners and people that are leading brokerages. There it is. There's the schedule. It's a full 2.5-day event. Go to gloveru.com/leadup. We don't just let anyone in that room, by the way. You have to be leading a team and have a certain number of agents and volume. You have to be leading a brokerage or own a brokerage and have a certain number of agents and volume. So it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, March 31st through the 1st at the JW Marriott, or March 31st through April 2nd at the JW Marriott Turnberry in Miami, Florida. So if you're not going to join us in Kathy's class, you better get there because you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of people who do. Again, that's gloveru.com/leadup to get the details on that. And other than that, we will see you for another great webinar on Friday, same place, same time. Thanks so much, everyone. Go build your brokerage. Go build your team. Good luck. We'll see you guys.
Can't wait to see you at the Team and Broker Building. I'm very passionate about it. Thanks, everybody. Let's go have a great 2025. I'll see you soon.
See you guys.